What's going on, everybody? Jay here, and it is time once again for my favorite time of the month. That's right, it is time to unbox the latest shipment from my good friends at Video Games Monthly. Now, normally I always tell you that I need to free it from its priority mail prison, but I already did that part, and I forgot to press record.
You are so stupid.
Am I?
Idiot!
Still figuring the new camera out, folks. I apologize. So what do you say? Let's crack this guy open and find out what's inside. But first, let me tell you about what Video Games Monthly is. Video Games Monthly is a monthly subscription service where you can get 3, 4, 5, or 10 games sent directly to your front door. Now, these games range everywhere from the original Atari all the way up to the Xbox One and the PS4. Pretty much everything in between, with a few exceptions here and there. But for the most part, if you collect it, you can get it through VGM. And Joe and the team there are fantastic. You might be wondering to yourself, well, how do they manage everything? How do they maintain what you already own versus what you're trying to collect? Well, I thought of that. On their website, you get to provide a list of the games you currently own, and basically, they won't send you duplicates.
I don't believe you.
And if they do, because we're humans, errors happen, we'll get a new one sent out to you right away. Just contact customer service, they'll take care of you. It's one of the best experiences you can have. I've had a duplicate sent to me, and I think it was resolved for me within like 2 days. Like legit, within 2 days. So what do I get games for? I get games for the NES, Famicom, Super Nintendo, GameCube, Genesis, Master System, Dreamcast, and I'm sure there's some other stuff in there I'm forgetting.
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
So normally I hold this up to the camera and I've got a viewfinder sticking out the side, but this is a new device. I don't have a viewfinder pointed at me. It actually operates off my phone, which is well down here. So I'll be holding stuff up and I'll be taking a look at my phone to see if I can figure out what it is. But let's crack this open. Let's find out what's inside. First things first. Oh, I have my ephemera right off the bat, and this is very cool. This is a VGM temporary tattoo, I think. Temporary tattoo? Yeah, it looks that way. And it has a certain number code on it, which if you're a fan of Punch-Out, you probably know what that is. And if you don't, freeze right now, take an image of that, and then input that on your copy of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or Punch-Out with Mr. Dream, and yeah, see what happens. And we have our social card. And the social card tells you to basically update your list so you don't get duplicates sent to you, and to share your experience with VGM online. And if you do, you'll be entered into a chance to win 3 free games sent directly to your front door. That's right, a free 3-up box, 3 free games just for sharing your experience. All right, I always do a blind feel. Let's see what we got here. We got Master, no, N64, Master System or Famicom. That's a Super Nintendo, and we've got, does it have the divot on the bottom? GameCube and ooh, a Genesis box. Okay, we'll do Genesis last. It is, after all, the summer Sega, but let's start things off. I'll start things off with the Famicom. All right, 3, 2, 1. I have no idea. Oh, nice! Excitebike, very cool. Definitely one of the racing games of all time. Not necessarily one of the best, but definitely something that I think a lot of us have memories of. So let's take a look now at Excitebike on the Famicom. I've actually been playing quite a bit of Excitebike lately, just not on an actual Excitebike cartridge because it's part of the NES World Championship cartridge on the Switch. There's a bunch of different Excitebike tasks to play. And I'm terrible at it. I am bad at Excitebike. I need to accept the fact that I suck at Excitebike, and that's okay. I said in the intro that this is one of the racing games of all time. I'm not going to say it's good or bad because I think it can be both at the same time frequently, because there's things that it does that I think are brilliant. Like, I love the track designer, and I think for as archaic of a system as the NES is, and for something that was developed so ridiculously early in the NES's lifespan, that it works brilliantly well. It's just not super fun at the end of the day. I mean, it can be fun, but it can also be incredibly tedious and incredibly frustrating. I'm not saying it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, because I do think it is a brilliant piece of technology and something that was years ahead in terms of what you were able to do with it. But this is exactly like Excitebike on the NES. It just happens to be in a Famicom cartridge. It's worth $9.38. Happy to have it in the Famicom set, and I think I will probably keep playing it. I just don't know how often it'll be. There you have it, Excitebike on the Famicom. Like I said, one of the racing games of all time. Not necessarily one of the best, not necessarily one of my favorites, but I do love the track editor, and as difficult as the game is, I've been having a lot of fun playing the NES World Championship game that just dropped on the Switch, and there's some Excitebike levels in there which have been challenging, to say the least. Let's just go with that. All right, up next, we'll do Super Nintendo. All right. 3, 2, 1. Is that Cow and Chicken? What is it? Oh. Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games. I bet this is going to be awful. Let's take a look at Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games. Jungle Games? Jungle Games. This might be a controversial stance, but I'll say it right now. Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games is better than the Lion King game. Yeah, I think so. It is not nearly as frustrating. It is not nearly as ridiculously ungodly difficult as the original Lion King game is. And it's actually, I mean, it's cute. It's not great. Don't get me wrong there. It's not a great game by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not terrible. You have 4 different games that you're able to play. There's one called Burping, or Burpees, something like that, where it's kind of like Space Invaders. You have a pinball game. You have a game that's kind of like Frogger. And then the other one was a shooting gallery. And they all work fairly well. They're all fine. The visuals in the game are spectacular. It looks like it just leapt off of the movie screen. It's just the gameplay isn't great. It's not something that ever needs to be played again. Like, I will never, ever play this game again. It was a one and done, and that's fine. I don't have to play it again because it's not, not every game is going to be for me with VGM sends over, and that's okay. This comes in at $7.74. It is the lowest end game in this box, but it's at least better than the original Lion King. Yeah, not a huge fan of Lion King property games. Really didn't like the original one. I'm pretty sure this one's going to be terrible as well. I've never played it, but I could be blown away. You guys just saw the review. I've never played it, but yeah, I am willing to hedge my bets that it's not great. All right. Up next, we have N64. That is the back label. That is the front label. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's San Francisco Rush. That one I know. San Francisco Rush Extreme Racing. When I think of racing games, the N64 is the first console that comes to mind. Been wanting to get this one. This has been on my wish list for a little while, so very happy to have it. Let's take a look at San Francisco Rush on the N64. I love racing games on the N64, whether it's the Cruisin' series or Diddy Kong or Mario Kart or Beetle Adventure Racing. I just think they're fantastic, and I've wanted to pick up San Francisco Rush for a while, but like is frequently the case with VGM, it's not a game that ever makes my convention wish list. It's something where it's one of those games that I never think to pick up. And it's probably because it's just one that's so ubiquitous with the N64 that I see it everywhere, so I don't think I'm in any kind of a need to grab it, because it's always going to be available. But I never pick it up, and it's a shame because I wanted it for ages, and I'm glad that VGM sent it to me because it's so much fun. It's really such a great game. It's basically cruising, just with a different kind of setting a little bit, different kind of cars. The gameplay is spectacular. It's fast arcade action. It's really well put together. It's kind of midway at their best. It's a signature N64 racing game for a reason. It's one that just works, and it works brilliantly well, and I am so stoked to have it in my collection. San Francisco Rush is a $7.88 cartridge loose, and I'm just stoked to have it. It's a fun game. Really happy to have one of the best racing games on a console that is known for its racing excellence. I always love getting new N64 games. I am such a newbie when it comes to that console because I never owned one growing up, and I just got one a couple of years ago. So my collection is very young and very small, so getting new games for it, especially games that I know I like, is always a treat, and I love San Francisco Rush. All right, let's, okay. Oh, lack surprise, I saw the title. This is a GameCube game. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's ATV Quad Fury 2. ATV Quad Power Racing 2, not ATV Quad Fury. Probably not going to like this one. Usually don't like quad games or ATV games, but let's take a look at it now on the GameCube. Alright, never let it be said that I am not willing to admit my faults and say when I am wrong about a game's first impression in VGM, because when I first saw ATV Quad Power Racing 2, I was really thinking that this game was going to be a hot pile of garbage. Like, the stinky garbage that you find a dead raccoon in? It's kind of what I expected this one to be. And instead, I got a really interesting game that actually plays incredibly well. The physics in the game are spectacular. Having to lean back when you're going up a tall hill to make sure that your ATV grips the ground better as opposed to leaning forward where your wheels are going to come off the ground was really neat. The in-flight physics when you hit a big hill and you make a jump are really fun. There's a challenge here that I really enjoyed with amazing level designs, and where the game really set itself apart for me is when I found that you can actually kick the crap out of your enemies on the track and knock them off their ATVs into the water or just into it at the side of a hill or something like that. It's a really fun game. It's really cleverly designed. Seriously, don't pass this one up. If you dig arcade racing games, ATV Quad Power Racing 2 needs to be on your wish list for the GameCube, because I would have overlooked this one 100 times out of 100 if VGM hadn't sent it, and I am so stoked to have it now because it's just a great game. $9.42 complete in box, so not a super high value on it, but definitely worth picking up. I had a lot of fun with this one, and I'm going to continue having fun with it. I do like that it's a complete in box copy. I think that's pretty great. It is always nice to get GameCube stuff, because GameCube games are always... They're progressively getting more and more expensive at conventions, so anytime I can get one in a VGM box is great, and I'm always willing to try new stuff, even if I'm fairly certain I'm not going to like it like this one. But it might have surprised me. I just let you know in that video, so let's find out. All right, so this... All right, that's where the hang tab was. It's missing a hang tab. It feels a little sticky. It's kind of a grody box, but it is for the Genesis, so let's drop the cardboard and let's find out what our Genesis game is. 3, 2, 1. Wow, flashback, Quest for Identity. Okay, so this is super cool. This is very cool. So last month, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know I got Lester the Unlikely on the Super Nintendo, which I was not a fan of. And I want to give a shout out here to Canadian Gamer, who's one of my viewers. Good dude. And he pointed out that if I didn't like Lester the Unlikely, I probably didn't like Flashback as well. And that's not true, because Flashback's actually a really well-made game. And just Lester just... The part where the game just turns you around and runs you away from the enemies, I did not care for. And Flashback was a very competent game, at least the way I'm remembering it when I played it back when I was, 17 or 18. So that's a million years ago now. God, I'm old. I'm so old. Anyway, let's take a look now at Flashback on the Sega Genesis. There's something really remarkable to be said about Flashback, which is just a technological marvel based on what it was able to do. So this originally was supposed to release in 1992. It was developed originally for the Genesis and actually ended up releasing on the Genesis in 93, a year after the DOS and I want to say Amiga version, or I might have those reversed. Anyway, when it released, this game was just an absolute technological marvel. Incredible animation sequences, fantastic visuals, amazing, just everything top to bottom about this game was incredible. The cinematic cutscenes where you got the backstory of what Conrad was going through was really remarkable. It was really beautiful and really wonderful, and just an incredibly detailed game that holds up incredibly well to this day. I was a little worried about it. I haven't played Flashback in ages, so fumbling around greatly as I'm playing it right now, but it was something where playing it when I was younger and playing it today, I'm still blown away by what they were able to accomplish and what they were able to include on a Sega Genesis cartridge. And while I do wish that this was complete in box, I'm not going to be upset by the fact that I got not only the cartridge, but the box for it as well, because this game comes in at a $19.45 value, which is kind of too inexpensive for how great of a game this is. It really should be worth significantly more. Very, very excited to have this. This is a kind of a signature 16-bit experience. What's going to happen now? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to head over to price charting. I'm going to look up the prices on all this stuff. I'm going to find out if I came out ahead, came out behind, or if it was kind of right in the middle based on what I typically pay for video games monthly. So after these messages, I'll be right back.
Now, back to He-Man.
Okay, I am back, and I did really, really well this month. $53.87. Nothing to complain about there, $53.87. The big ticket game this month, pretty clearly, is Flashback. It's one of those signature 16-bit games. It's a good copy. I wish it had the manual, but I can find that at a convention, not a big deal. Very excited to add it to the collection. Also super stoked for San Francisco Rush, one of my favorite N64 games. Let me know in the comments down below what games you're excited about that I got this month, which games do you really like that I didn't like, or which games did you hate that I really enjoy? Let me know down below. Till next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.